Had it facing the wrong way. All right. So we're going to go into the squat and overhead press. And I put those together because they're commonly used together in a combination or a complex, whatever you want to call them. So also known as a dumb thruster variation, you know, squat and press, overhead press. The squat will focus on the goblet squat, the racked squat, singles and doubles, and then the snatch pull, which is I like that snatch pull because it helps us kind of bridge the gap between a high pull and a snatch. It's kind of in between there, and so anyway, we'll put that one in. So the goblet squat, I'm pretty sure you guys are all familiar with this, is kettlebell. I prefer the handle up because when the handle's up, I can do other things from that position. A lot of people will do goblet squats this way, and that's fine. Goblet's up. I like handle up goblet squat. Grab the kettlebell by the horns because then from here I can do other things. Okay. So the snatch pull is basically a high pull to the overhead position. So I'm going to, you already know what the feet look like, but I want you to see what it looks like overhead just a little bit. So it'll go, I'm basically doing a sumo deadlift, high pull, but I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to end up here. And the crazy part about it is your fingers are down. When your hands are below your elbows, they point down, but when they are above your elbows, they need to point up. And so what happens is as we come up, the kettlebell handle will pivot inside your hands as you finish, and it'll be hanging off the thumbs a little bit, or in the web anyway, not really off the thumbs, but more in the web of the hand. Okay, so it'll go from down to up that way. So when you do this, I'm in my deadlift position or sumo deadlift position, and then I'm going to drive, and I'll just do a couple of high pulls and then transition right into the snatch pull. So high pull. You guys, if you have sore shoulders, these may not be appropriate for you, just like with overhead pressing. We just need to understand that. Okay, so that was the snatch pull. If you have impingement, shoulder pain, not worth it. Don't do it. Okay, you're better off doing Turkish get-ups. All right. So that's the snatch pull, and then let's do singles and doubles of the squat and overhead press. So the thing about the squat, when we get to squat proper in the rack, you have to know how to clean it. If you don't know how to clean it, which I think I forgot to demonstrate the cheek clean, which I'll demonstrate in class, but just so you can see a cheek clean. There's the handle. What's going on here? Oh, I need to get back, sorry. Handle is vertical. I'm going to go down and reach, so I'm going to clean to my right side. This is my right arm, right hand. Go in, deadlift position. This hand comes over the top. So I'm forming this grip. So kettlebell, that goes over. And then all I'm going to do is punch up into the rack and assist with this hand. Okay, and that's your cheek clean. And interestingly enough, is it's kind of very similar to the rectilinear clean, right? Okay, so that's your cheek clean, but in order to do the squat from the rack, you have to clean the bell. There's my cheek clean, and then I can hold here and practice my front squats. And then next step will be the overhead press. Okay? And then let me show you a double clean and front squat. So yeah, obviously, if you're gonna do doubles, you need to know how to clean no matter what. You can't cheat clean anymore. So it'll look like this. I'm gonna do a curvilinear version. There's my clean. I'm gonna adjust my stance for my squat. Okay, adjust for the clean. Okay, so that is your double kettlebell front squat. Now, I'll show you the single and double press. So I'm going to clean it, and once I get to the rack, I'll squat and then press. Or you can separate the two and just press. Notice my palms facing midline, wrist is straight, knuckles are pointed up, arms relatively vertical, elbows are at my side, not winging out like this. And then as I press, forearm stays vertical, palm facing towards you right now, bring it back down. See that kind of an arc motion? There you go. That's your kettlebell press. And here is the double version. Clean it and you're gonna find you lean back just a little bit. It's okay. Your body wants to deal with the load somehow, and one of those is if the load is heavier out front, it's gonna say, I want to bring the load over my feet a little bit and get, remember the kagu? Wants to do a little bit better job of getting that weight over my feet. So you watch Gearboy Sport, the sport of kettlebells, they really sit back and that weight's right over their feet. We're not going to do that because the potential for our lower back and mid back goes up, you know, injuring it or putting stress on it. Okay, so that was your two kettlebell clean front squat and overhead press. Okay, let's talk about red lights real quick. For the squat pattern, we're gonna have the same red lights as, or cautions as the deadlift. So refer back to that video for that. For the overhead press, I'll dive into this a little bit here since we haven't covered any overhead. Other than the fact that it's very similar to the Turkish get up stuff. Okay, but there's a couple more things we'll add. Okay, because your Turkish get up, it's overhead, but it's a static position, where this one you're moving, right? Okay, so shoulder mobility, hugely important. You gotta have adequate shoulder mobility to get the overhead. Otherwise, you'll see compensations like I can't straighten my elbow, or I lean back, or I do this, or my head does that. Those are all compensations because you can't get your arm overhead. So if those are things that are happening for you, which can cause pain, by the way, right? Well, when I press, my neck hurts. Well, you're pressing like that maybe. Or my thoracolumbar junction hurts, or mid-back hurts after I press. It's because we're doing this and we're hyperextending because we can't get our arms overhead. So the brain will let you do what you need to get overhead, but it may be wrong. So, or bad for you. So just keep that in mind. And the other one is just shoulder pain in itself. And then for a lot of us, especially if we're having pain deep in the front, and we got this rounded shoulder posture, forward head posture, the chances of impingement of the soft tissue, like the supraspinatus tendon or the subacromial bursa, are the two that come to mind. Bicipital tendon, biceps tendon, those can get impinged and inflamed and therefore hurt when you go overhead. So, and we test that in the FMS. So if you have that kind of stuff, then we need to address that before you start doing heavy pressing. You just need to, because it'll, at some point it'll hurt and you won't be able to press anyway. Okay. And I should say it this way. If you have pain, you shouldn't press overhead. And you need to get that pain under control and then gradually increase do a graded exposure to the exercise. You know, start with body weight, easy range of motion, or even assisted, which I'll show you here in a sec, and then moving into weighted variations, and then slowly grade your exposure to the overhead movement. So remedial drills. I'm going to start off with, you already know the band bent knee T, so just go back to the Turkish get-up stuff for that, okay? The arm bar. What I'm going to show you here is the PVC mobility drill and the halo, okay? Now, let's start with the halo. The halo is a good exercise, but for some of us, it hurts the shoulder. So, especially at the acromion, we just need to be careful. Sometimes I'll notice it in my neck. So really light bell. Use a really light bell. So this time I'm going to do goblet with the bottom up, and then basically draw circles around my shoulder, or around my head, I should say. And I'm keeping it really close. I'm not arching my back. I'm trying to stay neutral, good and tall. Abs are tight. And then go in each direction. You can make your circles a little bit less tight, so it's a little bit more forgiving on the shoulder. But the tighter you can do it, the more you're going to affect some of that joint and soft tissue. And it's just moving it through range of motion, okay? Again, if there's pain, let's do something different. And then the PVC pec mobility. So PVC, broomstick, whatever you have. I like the PVC. So I'm going to work on my left side. This is my left hand. I'm going to place it on top. Just rest the palm on top. And then this hand, my right hand, is going to reach down here. And it's going to help drive my shoulder. I'm trying to stay neutral with my spine. See how I can assist range of motion. And I can go back here and just work all the way through this arc. It's great, great, great tool. You might get some snap, crackly pops in the shoulder. As long as it's not hurting you, then it's fine. Keep your elbow straight too. This elbow. This doesn't work very well if your elbow's bent. I guess you could do it. You still get some mobility work. So that's your PVC pec move. The other one I like to do is a PVC shoulder dislocate. And you can do this with a stretch band as well. But I start wide. Get a really wide grip. It's a little bit more forgiving on the shoulder. And just, so, nice tall posture. I'm going to come up over and then go behind. And I'll go in a little bit after a couple. Okay, so that's your dislocate. Some people are really bendy. They'll do it with their hands really close together. That's not me. Okay. So we got the halo, we got the PVC pec mob, and then the dislocates with the PVC. I'll just show you a version with the RBT gun. Works really well. What's nice about this, you can kind of put tension into it, so it can kind of become like a strength exercise too. So I'm going to pull apart just a little bit. And that's about as far as I'm going to go right now. I'm pulling apart just gently, but I'm keeping the rib cage down. I'm getting some pretty good mobility. But there you go. I won't go all the way over it. Just my shoulder's not ready for that one. Okay? Well, I think I covered everything for this section or this segment. So overhead, work on mobility. Don't forget to do your breath work, do your mobility work, and I'll just kind of touch on it. If you got overhead stuff going on, you want to release pec, major, minor, bicep. In this right here, this muscle called serratus anterior that helps with upward rotation of the scapula. You want to release that. This muscle right here, your pull-up muscles, the lats, you need to release those. Posterior deltoid, infraspinatus, which is on your scapula. Rhomboids, okay, and traps. They're the most superficial muscle. They form that kite. They start here, go to your acromion, down to T12. They've just formed this kite, and they're all attached along the spine. Up here, more ligamentous attachment sites. As we get into the thoracic, they attach to the spine. Okay, so work on those, roll those out, check your overhead motion while in a safe position, you know. You guys see me do this in some of the movement enhancement technique videos where I'm self-checking. And one reason why I do it this way is because I want to align my core, and then I can monitor whether or not I'm elevating or lifting my rib cage. But also, this kind of puts slack into the system, so that if there's tension in my quads, hip flexors, and perhaps abdominals, they'll less affect what my shoulder is doing. And this is going to be more about checking serratus, checking pec, checking lat, and less to do with the lower body. Okay? So use that and make sure you got good range of motion before you get crazy with your overhead. You should be able to have your elbows straight. You should be able to do it without. So, and you can see I don't have full overhead control, but I'm controlling my spine. Yeah, I know it looks like I'm arching, but that's my butt. Ha ha ha. That's my squatter's butt. Okay, and then we're not deviating laterally. Our neck isn't moving. Okay, so those are things I want you to be aware of while you're working on your overhead press and your Turkish get up. Because if you do a bunch of Turkish get ups and next thing you know, oh man, my neck hurts. You might have been doing this the whole time because you were having trouble getting overhead, and it didn't really have anything to do with your neck. You're just compensating. Okay. All right, you guys, work on movement, work on stability, do it safely. Take care.